Good evening, good whatever time of day it is, wherever you are right now. Thank you for tuning in to the Conversations with Dr. Don show. The show is produced and broadcast from the Portland, Oregon area. And for your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about what we've decided to talk about tonight. Now, talking about tonight, that's kind of a misnomer because this is a music show, and Dave Lee, a dear friend of mine for many, many years, welcome.
Nice to be here, Don. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been together before.
Yes.
How many times have you been on the show in the past? Half a dozen or so?
Yeah, I think it's in that neighborhood. I've lost count.
But I haven't seen you for a while now.
I know. I mean, there's been a lot of things happen to both of us, I think, since I've been here. But I think we're both looking pretty good.
Yeah.
You think?
Don't look in the mirror. No, you're full of these funny stories anyhow. So the first half of the show is going to be what I call the bio segment, the Who Are You? And we'll have an abbreviated version of that because we'll be playing largely music. And like you're doing on a regular concert in a hall or someplace, you'll be introducing the music and talk your way through it.
Sure.
And look at me now and then to see if I approve or not. So anyhow, let's go through the bio because there'll be a lot of people who've not seen you before, so we want to maybe do an abbreviated version of who you are. You ready for that?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, if I were to ask your best friend, who is Dave? What would they say? Dave is what? Be your best friend.
Gee, I'm a 63-year-old.
You started off with I.
I.
Be your best friend.
Oh.
That's I won't correct you.
Dave.
Okay. Yeah.
Dave is 63, and he is a musician, piano, keyboard player, born in Idaho, raised primarily in Oregon in the Northwest, divorced with one daughter, Emily, and she is going to school up in Washington, 23. I'm 63. I'm not used to this, talking about like I'm the best friend here. That's a good one.
Of course, you bet.
That's good. I like that. But I think, I would describe myself as, a musician that's creative, likes to have fun.
And you told me when you were born.
I was born in 1956.
Why were you born?
Why was I born? You'd have to ask my parents about that.
Everyone asks that question
And
back at me again.
And they're not around to ask, so you're going to have a tough time there. I was born in a little town in Idaho, Bonners Ferry. Wow.
You remember that far back?
No. No, I went back there when my daughter was little and just to see what it was like, because the only reason I was there is because that was the nearest hospital. So my parents didn't, they lived in Yak, Montana.
Yak?
Y-A-A-K, Yak.
Did they create the name of that town just for you?
Perhaps, yeah. Anyway.
Anything significant about your racial, national, or cultural heritage, or are you just plain old American white bread?
I think I'm pretty American. Yeah, it's hard to get away from that, I think.
Religious preference? Do you have one of those?
Well, I was raised in the Christian church, and I currently attend a African-American Baptist church.
Ooh.
And I play keyboards for them. I'm not a member, but I enjoy being in the church, and I enjoy the music and the message of treating others the way you should be treated yourself. Golden rule kind of thing.
What kind of music do you play for them in that church?
Well, they do a lot of the old
gospel,
Southern gospel hymns, but we also do some contemporary gospel music.
Yes.
Which is really kind of in the R&B, pop, blues kind of vein.
And you have all this equipment there. You can make all kinds of sounds. Eh?
Yeah, we have the band is actually 3 people.
Okay.
We have 2 keyboard players and a drummer,
Uh-huh.
and it's really fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And your formal education. Did you go to school at all?
Yeah, I just the only college education I've had 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went out and started working, playing music full time.
Any other educational activities?
Well, the music instruction.
Yes.
You know, from an early age 9 through my late teen years, and really it's a lifelong thing. We never stop learning.
And when they hear you, they'll know what you mean when you say it's a lifelong thing. You're just fantastic.
Well,
Did you mention that I'm still in love with your daughter?
yes.
She was on the show some time ago.
Well, you know, we've done an album that was pretty much designed to as a vehicle for her to do her belly dancing. And
her name again?
Emily.
Emily, of course.
Emily.
How can I forget?
Emily Paris, and the name of the group was Melting Mergers.
Yes.
And we did an album, and it's music that mainly I wrote, and it's not really in one genre of music. It's all over the place.
What a composer you are.
It's a melting pot of music.
And the theme that has been with my show for 20 years or so is one of your creations?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your theme is called Sunday Drive. I wrote it back, way a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was recorded on an album I produced in 1998.
Yeah. So it's still going strong here.
Yeah, I wrote it back when I lived in the Coos Bay, Oregon area in my 20s. So it's a long time ago.
So we know what you do, and you're still working.
Yes.
When are you going to retire?
I will continue playing music as long as I'm able to get on the stage and do it, really.
Yeah.
It's what I love to do. No reason to stop something that you love, in my opinion. So let's bring it on.
Okay, and you brought it on through all these years, man.
Well, it's...
And all these years we're still friends.
Yes, we are. I think we've only had one spat.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know what the heck you were doing when you made me some music to accompany my singing, and but we got over that, didn't we?
Move on.
Bye.
Yes.
You had a wife once.
Yes, Sean.
And how is she?
She is good. We get along great.
Oh,
And
good.
we both, totally support our daughter, and our daughter likes to hang out with her parents.
Do you have a pet or a dog or a cat or something?
I have no pets right now.
What's wrong with you?
I know. I should have a cat,
Okay.
and soon we will.
Oh?
But I have a friend, and she has a wonderful, beautiful cat. It's an Abyssinian, and they're a beautiful breed of cats.
Oh, yes.
Very elegant and beautiful animals, and so I enjoy that lovely animal occasionally.
You don't have an allergy to cats
No,
like I do.
I do not. My daughter developed one, though, which was interesting.
Really? Develop one?
Yeah. She was not allergic to cats when she was young, and now she is.
Are you still a Trump supporter? Just breaks him up. You belong to the Trump cult, do you?
Oh, golly day. I mean,
Okay.
I can't get enough.
Okay. Memberships in political, social, or civic organizations. Do you have time beyond your music to belong to any organizations that you can mention?
Well, I've been a registered Democrat all my life. Although the parties are quite different than excuse me, what they were when I was first learning about politics.
Oh, yes, me
which
too.
I started to become aware of a few things at the age of 12, which in my life, that was 1968. And in many respects, the country has not recovered from the events of
Vietnam era.
the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
I think we transitioned from that right into Watergate, and I think we have not fully come back from those times.
Are we going to come back?
I don't know.
Oh, I hope so. Okay.
I don't know.
Any persons from the past or alive today that you particularly admire or admired or look up to? Any names come to mind?
That are alive today?
Or from the past, either way.
Well, I mean, I certainly, you know, when I refer to myself as a Democrat, I usually say I'm a Robert F. Kennedy Democrat.
Yay!
You know, it's my feeling that had he been elected, the country may have gone on a different path that
Yeah.
would perhaps have ramifications to the current time. Martin Luther King is somebody I admire.
Yes, yes, so do I.
There are a number of artists,
Mm-hmm.
musicians that I admire, one of them being Herbie Hancock, who I think is a person that not only is a brilliant musician, but is a beautiful soul, and the way he expresses himself through the music is very inspiring to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the first jazz album that I bought was Herbie. So I mean, you know, he's a big influence. You know, I can put on those records and just, if I never heard anything else, it would be all right. You know?
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay. Your last question, what is doing good? What does that mean?
well, I would describe it from my perspective in what I do, music. Doing good is a simple goal of having a smile on someone's face by the end of a performance. And so if the world's a slightly better place, even in that small way, that's doing good. So I start from those little things like that. And if somebody is touched or enriched, you know, then that's good for me. Lots of other good things, but that's one.
That's the number one, because when I hear you, I feel good.
Well, hopefully, I mean, you know, I mean, I can, some
Yeah.
kind of emotion hopefully comes forth.
Yes.
And I think feeling of those emotions, whether they be laughter or sadness, is a good thing.
Yeah. All right, so let's take an early break. There'll be a minute or two between. We'll have my announcements. Okay, we're back. Thanks for staying tuned. And for you viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series, the 1 hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people, like most of you out there, about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and about what we decided to talk about tonight. And we're not going to talk about it anymore. We're going to do the second half of the show, which is talking about Dave Lee on the last generation music synthesizer. I did a little research, and it turned out to be a whole bunch of research on music synthesizers. Went on for pages and pages and pages. You know, man, my computer was about to break down. And I had no idea what a music synthesizer was, really, even though you taught me some time ago when I was learning how to sing. And I learned a little bit about the stuff you were doing with all the instruments you had there. It drove me nuts. And I still didn't know what a music synthesizer was. I still don't know what it's like. But anyhow, I got a couple of provocative questions for you.
Certainly.
How many music synthesizer generations are there? Can you guess?
Well, I think people started to fiddle with things back, and I'm not an expert on when, you know, on the chronological history of every individual keyboard out there, but I think back in the 30s and 40s there started to be...
First of all, what is a music synthesizer, please?
Well, it's the use of waveforms and voltages and electronic filters and manipulating those to make sound.
Make sounds? Just musical instruments or what?
Yeah, normally, I mean, the synthesizer doesn't have to be a keyboard.
Okay.
It can be virtually just a box. And you start to move the little controls around, and all of a sudden you start to get some sound.
Yeah, like trumpets or saxophones? Or...
Well, usually with electronics, we can manipulate the waveforms to kind of sound like certain instruments. But we've evolved since then into a process which is called sampling.
Sampling?
And sampling is the recording of an instrument or a sound, and then storing that sound in a piece of electronics, which could be a keyboard, a synthesizer, any sort of instrument that can manipulate the electronics.
Yes, yes.
And there are a lot of ways to do that, and we're going to demonstrate one of those here in a few minutes.
Yes.
But generally, when we think of synthesizers, we think of keyboards. But it's really electronics, and the keyboard is a way to control the electronics.
After all these years of you teaching me as you're playing music for me to sing to, I had no idea what the heck you were talking about then, but I know now a little bit more.
Yeah.
What's your favorite music synthesizer through the years? The one that lingers with you more? Oh, that's you have now.
Well, I've owned a ton. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm always looking for the next piece of gear.
And you have the next piece of gear in repair now, don't you?
Well, I have a piece of gear in repair. It's a keyboard that was made in 1975. And it's been in the shop since June. And we're now in December. So, yeah, I'm looking to get it back. But my favorite, that's tough. But back when I was a teenager, my first synthesizer was made by Moog, M-O-O-G, Moog Synthesizers, Bob Moog, who's a legend, may he rest in peace. And the Mini Moog, which is what I bought, probably is still one of my favorite instruments.
Really? After all these years?
And you could only play one note at a time. You could play one note. There were no presets. You had to change all the controls to make a sound. And I was using it on stage in a dive bar in Coos Bay. It was amazing. You know? I took up half the stage with all my keyboards back then. And
But
It's
then
crazy.
you answered my next question.
Yes.
The difference between a piano keyboard and a music synthesizer. I think you answered
Well, the
that.
piano keyboard, the piano is what's called a mechanical action instrument. So when you press a note, mechanics then strike a string, and that's how we get the sound. And so with the synthesizer, we're not really, for the most part, we're not striking anything. We're
It's electronics.
we're
huh?
manipulating electronics into pitches and noises.
Has it affected your hearing? What?
I'm supposed to get my hearing checked here pretty soon, but I think my hearing's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I have to be careful with loud volumes, like anybody should. I don't go to very many loud concerts. I'm very, very selective about when I go out and hear music. First of all, I gotta like what I'm gonna go see.
Oh, yes.
And then it's, you know, I expect a certain level of musicianship or I probably won't stay.
Oh, of course.
And then if it's too loud, I probably won't stay. But I was at a rock concert a few months ago, and I was amazed that the volume was at a reasonable level.
Really? Really?
I could understand all the lyrics. I could hear all the instruments in the band. And it was an artist from the 70s and 80s, Todd Rundgren.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, and he was great. But it was, the point though is that I didn't, you know, I could have worn ear protection, but I didn't, and it was comfortable.
That's refreshing. There's still somebody who has something at a reasonable level.
I was really pleased. The venue was called the Revolution Hall, and they do a very nice job. Now I saw another
Revolution
concert.
Hall is in Portland.
Yeah, it's an old high school.
Yeah.
But I went to another concert, a guitarist who I like, Robin Trower, from the 1970s, used to be in Procol Harum back in the day.
Procol Harum, oh
And,
man, you're telling our age.
yeah, I know, now we're getting back in the weeds here. But that concert was very loud.
Okay.
I mean, there was no reason for it to be that loud.
So let's stop talking now so we can hear you.
Would you like to hear a sound?
Play.
Okay.
And you talk a little bit about what you're going to be playing or any stories you have about. Oh, man.
Well, I'd like to talk about this keyboard that I have here.
Of course, please.
So, because the title of the show, Next Generation Music Synthesizer, I think we're kind of looking at a keyboard here that, when you look at it, does not look like a piano.
It doesn't look like a keyboard either.
It doesn't even look like a keyboard. I don't know if we can see it or not here, but this is called the Roli, R-O-L-I, Rise, R-I-S-E, Roli Rise. When the company first came out, they called their instruments the Seaboard, S-E-A as an ocean, board, keyboard, so Seaboard, and the owner, Roland Lamb, otherwise known as Roli, wanted to have a keyboard that felt like waves of sound. And so spent years thinking about how he was going to do that. Finally started to make instruments a number of years ago. And I started to see little videos come up occasionally of the Seaboard. And it was like, whoa, this is groundbreaking. This is expression that you cannot do on a piano, cannot do on a regular synthesizer. And we call this family of keyboards controllers because they don't have any internal sounds. The sounds that I'm going to play are going to come off an iPhone.
It's all mixed up now.
or we have also an iPad Pro here. So, but let's talk about the keyboard, the Rolly Rise. And this is 49 keys, and can you see that? There you go. They're little ridges that are notes. And then you can see the white lines are the those would be like the black notes on a piano. Now, what they call this type of sound is called 5D, 5 dimensions. And the first dimension is striking. So it's how hard I strike it. And then we have gliding and sliding. And then pressure. So if you notice, I'm wiggling my finger.
Yes.
So that's, if you watch a guitar player,
Vibrato.
it's the vibrato, like a guitar player vibrato on a string. And then the last one is how it's called release. And so some of the sounds are programmed that when you go up off the note, there is another dimension of touch that happens. So instead of a piano where it's basically just striking and that's it, we go 4 dimensions beyond that. So
Did a rest like me. Jeez, that's enough.
isn't that cool? Now that's, I'm going to tell you the name of the sound is called steel string guitar. So hopefully I was playing it somewhat like an acoustic guitar, but the things that I do are kind of beyond what a guitar player would do because I'm, you know, a guitar player can't really, you know, can't do that. They can kind of do that, but it's slightly different. But I think that's, so this is an example of what's called sampling. So they recorded an acoustic guitar, every single note, and different ways of playing that note. And then all that information is stored inside this app on the phone. And so then we're able to play those samples and the different inflections that they recorded like that. And so that's an example of what we can do with sampling and then an alternative controller keyboard. So we choose another sound. I'm going to demonstrate some sounds and then we'll play some
music.
But I'd like to play some of these sounds because it's like people aren't used to seeing this keyboard. and then they're not seeing it used to being things being manipulated this way. So this is all I got, but it's fun. So this is a flute. It's called classic flute. Now notice when we slide, we get that fluttering sound,
Yeah.
which is the flautist using their tongue and wind to get a fluttering air sound, right? Hear that? Anyway, I'm just going to play a few more sounds, and then we'll do something with with a beat here and things.
Yes.
One of my favorite sounds is the upright bass.
Oh, yeah.
And there's, you know, I don't by any stretch pretend to be a bass player, but I love that sound.
I do too.
And this particular instrument gets us going in that direction pretty cool, because we can do a lot of the things that an upright player can do.
You did it again.
There's some wonderful bass players in town, and they would probably laugh at me when I'm doing that. But I'm looking to have some fun.
Of course.
And let's do something here. And I'm going to go to my iPad here now and see if I can get a little bit of rhythm going for us. And we'll what I've got on the iPad here is an app that has 48 different squares on it, and each square is a different sound loop. It's a loop of sound. It
Yes,
can be
yes,
a measure, 2 measures, 8 measures, whatever the case may be. And so I'm just going to turn some of these loops on and see if I know how to play with this thing. Sometimes these experiments work, and sometimes they go right over into the electronic abyss. But that's okay. I've been down there before, and I've come back up.
All right.
So let's see what we got here.
long will there be enough time for a couple of songs or two?
I don't know. I mean, I just, I get lost in things, and so I could.
That is fine, just beautiful.
Yeah, and that sound featured, the last sound I played was an Egyptian saxophone called a duduk. I've never even seen one.
You're so far out, man.
But see, that's the sound that we're not really familiar with. And then you manipulate it this way, and it's almost like, what is it? But it's fun for me.
Yes.
And so let's choose another
Christmas song?
You want to do something with some? Let me see if I can come up with something that's holiday here, shall we?
Yes, yes.
All right, let me see what I can do. There's no guarantees in my world.
Little Drummer Boy or something.
Yeah, well, let's see here. Question is which sound will I use here? There's too many sounds, Don.
Okay.
See, there's way too many sounds. Let's try this.
Okay.
All right. Who knows where we're gonna go?
we lose the little drummer boy somewhere?
It was in there somewhere.
Fancy.
That was pretty strange. Because I really wasn't in the right key to be playing what I wanted to do, but
Yeah.
once I was there, I was there. But it was kind of bizarre.
Well, let's have a song that's clear to understand, okay? Or one or two.
Let me see if I can do that. That's something that's nice and pretty here. Shall we do that? Let's see.
I'll make you play one of your old tunes from 20 years ago.
Boy, that could be tough. Let me see if I can do just something nice and pretty here. Let's try this sound. This is obviously human voices. So let's see what we can do with this. Maybe not. Let's go. Let's try a different sound here. Bear with me. Yeah, this is nice.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, it looks like we got about 6 more minutes to go. Let's do something pleasant and easy.
Okay, let me find a sound that I like here first. There are way too many sounds to choose from. Oh, this might be interesting. My daughter recently, I said she was in Paris, and she visited many of the famous buildings and churches and art museums and things like that. And a sound that I enjoy is the echo of a large
Organ.
organ in church, and that kind of sound is very, very nice. So let's this sound is called cathedral solo horn. So let's try to do something again in the, oops, I think I just touched my microphone. But let's try to do something in the holiday
Spirit.
Spirit, yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It made you cry. I can see that. Eh?
Yeah, I'm getting verklempt here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So we have a couple of minutes more. Can you play something?
Let me play something that's maybe not holiday. Do you want to
Yeah,
close out with
sure.
something that's something a little.
Like the church that you played for?
Oh, gee. Well, that could be. I don't know if I can do that on here or not, but
Okay, never mind.
Let's
Just
see
do
here.
where you want to go.
Try to find the right good sound. They're all good sounds, but well, maybe try this.
Like Amazing Grace you started out with a while ago.
Yeah, we trying to think of an old one of the old Baptist things here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I'm. Let's see. You know, I'm going to do. This is a tune that sometimes we play at church. It's actually a Billie Holiday thing. It's called
Okay.
"God Bless the Child."
Okay.
Let's
Yes.
do a little bit of that, and I think I'll go back to my steel string here. I'm going to send this out to my friend Sheila Wilcoxon, who passed away a little over a month ago. We did so many gigs together over about 25 years. She sang at my wedding, sang Amazing Grace at my wedding, and she lost her battle to cancer,
Yes.
like a fair number of our friends have. But let's send this out to Sheila and the memory of all the great music she put out, whether it was Back Porch Blues or Sheila and the Boogeymen, or the best gig we ever did was for Chief Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. So we had a marvelous run there. But this is a little God Bless the Child. Let's see if I can get a little bit of this in before we close.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Don.
Beautiful,
My pleasure.
beautiful stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Looks like it's got time for us to say goodnight. Oh, thanks for watching, you people out there. Remember KFC and not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC.
Yes.
Kind, friendly,
Friendly,
and
courteous.
charitable.
Charitable, courteous. Well, you know, let's see.
Thank you. And to you too, of course. Good night. We'll see you next time.